In Tokyo Disneyland, there is a Winnie the Pooh attraction that was more expensive to build than Expedition Everest. How does a ride dedicated to plush toys and the 100-acre woods rival one of the most technologically advanced coasters in the world? Most of us know Winnie the Pooh as a traditional, slow-moving Fantasyland Dark Ride. But in Tokyo Disneyland, their version implemented a brand new, never-before-seen ride system that let guests float down a river, drift into a dream world, and dance with heffalumps and woozles. While this version may tell a very familiar story, it goes about it in an incredibly unique way, thanks to this new, trackless dark ride technology. But even though the storyline may be familiar, the fact this attraction is presented purely in Japanese means that you may miss the nuances and flow that make this attraction so incredible. So that's why we now invite you to join us as we step into our honeypot and venture into the 100-acre woods to reveal the history, story, secrets, and behind-the-scenes magic that makes this attraction so incredible. Welcome to your virtual guided tour presented by ReviewTyme. My name is Luke, and I will be your host today as we explore Pooh's Honey Hunt at Tokyo Disneyland. But before we explore our blustery day in the 100-acre woods, let's explore the history that brought us this attraction. The world's first Winnie the Pooh Dark Ride was the Magic Kingdom's Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, opening up in 1999 in the space of the former Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. This attraction would go on to be carbon copied for Hong Kong Disneyland and Shanghai Disneyland, and adapted for Disneyland Park. However, even Disney seems to acknowledge that this version of the attraction is underwhelming compared to what's on offer at Tokyo, with the D23 website calling Pooh's Honey Hunt more elaborate than its Walt Disney World counterpart. In the 1990s, Disney parks were slowly removing their opening day Skyway attractions, with Tokyo Disneyland's version of the attraction, a 240-meter, 3-minute-long straight-line ride that took you from Fantasyland to Tomorrowland, closing at the end of 1998. The Tomorrowland station for the Skyway became a candy store and later the Tomorrowland Town Hall, where guests can receive show tickets for the park. But much bigger things were planned for the old Fantasyland station. By taking the newly available land and moving Alice's teacups closer to the Queen of Hearts banquet hall, Tokyo Disneyland now had a rather large parcel of land for a brand new attraction. Going to the Imagineers, the Oriental Land Company's request was simple. Give us a brand new e-ticket attraction with a capacity of at least 2,000 guests per hour. Eddie Soto, the lead Imagineer behind the project, got to work playing around with some ideas for a Beauty and the Beast dark ride before looking over to see the plans for a little attraction called Aquatopia, currently under construction for the opening day of Tokyo Disney Sea. This attraction used a brand new ride system, where ride vehicles floated freely around the floor with no track in sight. This new trackless ride system seemed perfect for their Fantasyland e-ticket. At one stage, plans called for the ride vehicles to emulate umbrellas, with guests floating through the 100-acre woods, with the flooring of the attraction set to be simulated water, created through a blue, reflective flooring. Ultimately, the umbrellas became honeypots, and the faux water would be utilized for the first scene of the ride. This new ride system allowed for something that had never really been attempted before in the world of dark rides. Traditional bus bar ride systems essentially have you facing forward throughout the entire attraction, and if you do decide to look back over your shoulder, often the illusion of the ride is ruined by the backside of sets and visible stage lighting. The trackless ride systems, on the other hand, wants you to see everything 360 degrees around the ride vehicle, and even turns you completely around to see it. Trackless ride vehicles can essentially go anywhere as defined by the system, can face any direction, and even dance with other ride vehicles, all via a system called LPS, or Local Positioning System, a series of pucks buried underground that talks to the ride vehicles above using a centralized computer. If you are interested in the intervention that is the trackless Dark Ride system, be sure to check out our in-depth video talking about the technology. Pooh's Hunny Hunt debuted on September the 4th, 2000, opening up exactly a year before the ride it borrowed its ride system off, and today, just over 21 years later, it's still one of the most popular attractions in the park. Imagineers wanted this ride to be symbolic of the new millennium and the exciting future it would bring for theme parks and attractions. The entire project cost around $130 million, or around $200 million today, with that price also including the cost to move Alice's teacups. The attraction proved to be so popular that Winnie the Pooh mania not just took over the park, but the entirety of Japan, when Winnie the Pooh became the most popular character in Japan's annual 1.6 trillion yen character market for both men and women, beating out the likes of Hello Kitty and Mickey Mouse. But now let's explore this version of the 100-acre wood and why over 20 years after opening, it's still better than rides opening next month that happen to use the same ride system. Drawing you over as you enter Fantasyland is a giant storybook open to a page entitled Pooh's Hunny Hunt, with a short paragraph explaining the premise for the ride. Winnie the Pooh, as is often the case, is looking for something, and that something is honey. This rather understated entrance and facade for the ride are entirely done on purpose. The wow moment for the attraction was the trackless vehicles, and the pacing for that reveal begins from the moment you see the attraction. Instead of building a grandiose facade that overpromises what's inside, they almost undersold the attraction, making it look and feel like a traditional Fantasyland Dark Ride. Starting in the outdoor queue, you wind around lush, beautiful gardens before entering a garden shed filled with tools, toys, and also a blue balloon, foreshadowing of what's to come. After exiting the garden shed, you walk inside the giant storybook you saw when entering the queue, and the giant, oversized, hand-painted pages of the book act as a form of pre-show for the attraction, where everything takes place between the pages of the storybook, just like in the classic Winnie the Pooh books by A.A. Milne. Rounding the corner, you are greeted by again an understated load area, featuring a large hand-painted mural of the 100-acre woods, another nod to classic Fantasyland Dark Rides. Pulling into the station is 3 4-ish seater honeypots that will all be dispatched together and experience the attraction as one group. Rounding the corner, you are again greeted by an oversized book, but still don't really know what the ride entails, as the facade and queue have you expecting something along the lines of Pinocchio's Daring Journey or Snow White's Scary Adventure. Once you approach this book, the magic truly begins, as before your eyes the illustration comes to life, and Pooh Bear asks Christopher Robin if he can borrow his blue balloon so he can use it to catch honey. Once the balloon is handed over, you are treated to one of the greatest reveals in theme park history, as you move into the storybook and the 100-acre woods comes to life around you. As you enter the woods, you're caught in the middle of a blustery day. It is here you are introduced to all of Pooh Bear's closest friends, impressively designed as animatronics that still look like teddy bears, rather than the creepy plastic statues of the other versions of the attraction. The movement of the honeypots was also designed to be story-driven, and a reaction to something specific happening in each scene. On a blustery day, thus it makes sense that your ride vehicle is being blown all around the scene, heading under Pooh floating along on his balloon, past Rabbit who is about to blow away, Piglet who is begging for help, and Owl who in traditional Owl fashion tells you that today is merely a breezy day, and the windy day back in 1967 was truly blustery. One of the most immersive parts of this scene is the roof, which is covered in countless leaves that not only look impressive, but also are critical to hide the lighting rig required for the attraction, now that guests would be viewing it 360 degrees. Another Pooh Bear animatronic floating high above guest's head wishes a happy windy day to Kanga and Roo before the wind sadly knocks over Eeyore's house. Bouncing out of a bush though, along comes Tigger, who says his special skill is catching Hunny, and he was going to show us how it was done. Rolling into the next room, you're treated to one of the coolest effects in the ride. Your group of 3 ride vehicles rolls up to several wraparound screens and secretly rolls onto a bouncing floor, where through a combination of the floor moving up and down, the set moving up and down, and the projections moving with the ride vehicle, you truly experience what it's like to bounce along with Tigger, as he sings to us the most wonderful thing about Tiggers. In the end, Tigger bounces off screen, and spinning around in the ride vehicles, you notice he has bounded right into a beehive. He leaves guests with a word of warning of what's to come though, as he admits he hates Hunny, and the only thing that likes Hunny are heffalumps and woozles. Our ride vehicle spins around into Winnie the Pooh's house, where he appears to be dozing off, but as he does, he is slowly heard repeating Hanishifu, or in English, honey thief. As he echoes this over and over, the room starts to shift around him. His balloon sprouts eyes, ears, and even a trunk, as Pooh's house magically disappears, to be replaced by a star field. Pooh Bear falls deeper and deeper into his nightmare, as he floats up and into the air, where after a warning from the ride's narrator, we are about to join him. Down a dreamlike corridor, you make your way into the signature scene of the ride, where your group of 3 ride vehicles joins up with another group of 3, and all 6 of you dance and jive with each other to an absolutely bopping rendition of the Heffalumps and Woozles song. Here each ride vehicle is treated to several smaller special effect type show scenes around the room, including a cannon and screen-based Heffalumps interacting with your ride vehicle. As you spin between these show scenes, you are joined by a 7th ride vehicle, not filled with other guests, but instead Heffalumps and Woozles, who will happily spin and dance with you. Throughout it all is Pooh Bear high above, hanging off a hot air balloon. Your ride vehicle begins to get pulled out of the scene backwards as you hear Christopher Robin's voice telling you to wake up, wake up, wake up. As you and Pooh Bear awake from your Heffalump nightmare, Pooh has found himself in a dream situation, with his balloon floating him up inside a tree with all the honey he could ever fit in his rumbly tummy. As you leave the scene, the narrator of the attraction wraps up the story and what you've seen as a giant storybook closes, ending the ride and overall experience in a cyclical nature. Of course, being a Disney park, you exit straight into the gift shop. But even here, that experience is heightened with a beautifully themed cottage acting as the store for anything and everything Winnie the Pooh and friends. But if merchandise isn't your calling, maybe the unique Tokyo Disney exclusive honey popcorn that can be found right outside the attraction is more your style. Pooh's Honey Hunt truly is a spectacular attraction, and that's coming from a man with no real connection to Winnie the Pooh throughout his childhood. 20 years on, the first version of a trackless dark ride to open is in some regards still the best utilization of the ride system in the world. If you're ever lucky enough to visit Tokyo Disneyland, Pooh's Honey Hunt is a must-see attraction, and one of the many reasons the Tokyo Disney Resort is my favorite Disney resort in the world. From the home of all things theme parks, I'm Luke for ReviewTyme. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode of ReviewTyme. If so, be sure to like and subscribe, and also check out our podcast, ReviewTyme's Theme Park Cast, available on your podcasting platform of choice.